Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for One-on-One with Gabriel Gonzalez. I am your host. Today, we are joined by Janet Rowland, Mesa County Commissioner.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on today.
Of course. Thank you for coming. We're talking about something very important and maybe even something that a lot of people might not even think about on a day-to-day basis. So we are talking about fostering right here in Mesa County. Give us a little bit of the breakdown first and why it's so important.
Yeah, we have a critical need for families willing to take children into their home on a temporary basis. Oftentimes they come from a neglectful home. Actually, it's more cases of neglect than physical or sexual abuse combined. Sometimes that's mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and so their parents need time to work on their issues so that they can provide a safe home for their children, and the children need a safe place to be temporarily, and so that's where foster homes come in. On any given day, we have about 275 kids in foster care, and this can range from newborns all the way to 17 years old. Last year we took in about 149 kids, and 11 of those kids had to leave Mesa County because we didn't have enough homes for them here. So we really like to have at least 50 to 55 foster families in Mesa County. Right now we have 42. That's a challenge because sometimes that means kids go into foster care and they have to be put in separate homes from their brothers and sisters. So imagine you're already leaving your home and now you're leaving your siblings. And then sometimes those kids also have to leave the community. And so we really want to try and get more foster families here in Mesa County.
Absolutely. That's always the goal, to retain people here in Mesa County and give them, a good sustainable life. Now, I know there are qualifications that people need to be foster parents. You can't just, be anyone. You have to have certain qualifications. What are some of those qualifications?
So you have to be at least 21 years of age. You have to be able to successfully complete a background check. They'll do a home study, and then you don't have to be wealthy, but just enough money to provide for your own needs so that you don't have to use the stipend that's for the child for your own, rent or food or things like that. So it's really simple. I think you're over the age of 21, so maybe there's room for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's something that, we don't really think about. Somebody, as young, I'm in my mid-20s, so as somebody, as young as myself, has the opportunity to do something like that. We often think, maybe like, my parents, would be, really good candidates, but it's somebody like myself who has a good job and a good home life. It could be anyone.
It could be. You can be single or married, young or old. You can live in an apartment or own your own home. Just need someone who cares for kids.
Yeah, and we were talking before the interview started. The goal for this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal for this, it's not for adoption.
Correct.
The goal for this is to foster these kids until, the parents or whatever, they're able to get on their own.
Right. And federal and state law requires that the first goal of DHS is to reunify the children with their parents. And in a perfect world, that works and that's great. Yeah. So we need people who are willing to take them in their home, love them as their own, and yet support if the kids have to go back home or if they do go back home. And we've had foster families who have then developed a relationship with the biological family and provide babysitting when needed and give them some supports. But we also know there are times when the children can't go back home, and so having foster families who are also willing to adopt those children is great. But if someone is just wanting to adopt, foster care is probably not the best way because it can be a little painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love all of this. I think it's so important. What are some of the positive effects that you've seen with these foster children who have gone through, would you call it a program?
Right.
Who've gone through the program and come out the other side.
Right. A lot of times, and we'll match them up with, sometimes they'll have a senior partner, so they'll have a mentor, maybe they'll have a CASA advocate to be their voice in court. But the foster families can sometimes give them the true sense of what it's like to be in a family where you're nurtured and loved. I had a friend who was a caseworker, and she was on a plane and sat next to a businessman and got to talking about the fact that she works in the foster care system. And he said he was in foster care and it completely changed his life. It changed the trajectory, and he realized there was another way to live. And she asked him how long he was in foster care. 2 weeks. So in just 2 weeks' time, he saw a different way of life and really could sent his life in a very different path.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's almost a little emotional. That's,
it is. It really
that's awesome.
is.
I love that, and we can do that, for our neighbors, for our community members right here in Mesa County.
Yes.
And it's not also, lastly, it's not just fostering I think we mentioned this, 1-year-olds. It can be
Yes.
late teens or
Right.
early teens.
We need people willing to take sibling groups, so 2 or 3 kids at a time. Infants may be medically fragile, so if there's a nurse or someone with a medical background that wants to take in some of those kids. We have kids with intellectual developmental disabilities. We need folks that are comfortable with teenagers, just a gamut. And as a foster parent, you can say, this is the type of kid I'm comfortable with and that I want in our home. Maybe you just want boys that are teenagers or girls under 5 or whatever you're comfortable with. So we really want to make sure the foster family feels like they can be successful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
incredible. And where can somebody go to find more information?
They can go to foster.mesacounty.org, which is the website for Department of Human Services.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you
on
for
today.
having me.
Of course, we appreciate it. Very important topic.
Yes.
And I hope that this does some good.
I do too. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Stay tuned for more with One-on-One with me coming up.